Okay, hi guys, welcome back to another episode of Sunset with Ria. Today I'm going to talk about how gossip is used in female ensembles in like TV shows basically. Don't be annoyed, but I'm not going to talk about Euphoria. I know that at the moment Euphoria is like a big thing, but I'm going to be real, I haven't watched it. And I feel like it would be bad of me to start giving my opinion just based off of season 3 because don't even get me started. Like, from what I'm seeing of season 3, these girls need to get a flipping grip. They need to get a grip. I'm going to reference like shows that I've watched over the years and how I feel like, and I didn't realize this, but low key, they kind of just promote gossip as like the only thing that girls can kind of do together. Yeah, I've just noticed a bit of a pattern that a lot of these shows where they have strong female leads, especially females that are in a group and they're going through formative years, so whether it's like young 20s or like late teens, gossip seems to be like the only activity that they think that they can all do as a group and it be like fun. And it will make sense as I go on to explain. So the TV shows that I've personally watched, okay, I'll start from shows that I actually genuinely like. Like I would die on a hill for these shows, and then I'll just slowly go into ones that like I've watched. Does that make sense? So the one show that I would literally die on a hill for is Gossip Girl. I love that show. I don't even remember how I first started watching it, but honestly, I think as soon as I saw Blair, I just fell in love with her. I was like, oh my gosh, like this girl is just she's just perfect. She's actually just perfect. Like she's so womanly, but at the same time, she's actually quite like childlike and she really lets herself have fun. Like she doesn't take anything too seriously. Serena, on the other hand, just don't even get me started on her. She is just, she's just everything that. Anyways, let's not get into that. It's a bit negative. So yeah, let's start with Gossip Girl. So Gossip Girl, I would say, is up there with a TV show that I genuinely like. Like I watch that regularly. Second, I would say, it's starting to rain. Second, I would say is Dawson's Creek. I really like Dawson's Creek. The only reason I would put it like a little bit lower is because it's set in a small town. I do feel like we're quite limited in terms of the world and the characters. Although saying that, what season am I on? I haven't watched it all the way through. I'm like halfway through the series, I would say. I'm on like season 4 or 5 out of, I don't know. So yeah, I would say that because it starts off in a small town and it's like really focused on love interest, which I don't mind, but I think the reason why I prefer, for example, a show like Gossip Girl is because there's so much that you can draw from, and maybe because the characters are big characters and like their lives are quite big, like they're living on like the Upper East Side, Upper West Side, and they are part of influential families, so you kind of get a bit more of a sense of the world around it, whereas with Dawson's Creek, it's like very small town. Apparently a creek is a river or something, I don't know, because that's basically what it is. It's like them rowing back and forth on the little river to go and visit their friends. It's obviously more than that, but yeah. Wait, actually, let me look up, when was Dawson's Creek filmed? Is that what we want to know? Or do we want to know when it's based? All I know is that my auntie used to watch this when she was like young, like my age. So okay, so it says here Dawson's Creek was filmed between 1997 and 2003. So I was born in 2003, so that's way before my time. Okay, yeah, so Dawson's Creek is older. Let's see when when was Gossip Girl filmed? Okay, 2007 and 2012, so like quite a fair bit on. I would say it goes Gossip Girl, Dawson's Creek. Let's say Vampire Diaries next, because I do love Vampire Diaries, I'm not gonna lie. I love that show. But I think maybe more because it's a comfort show, because it's actually not that good. I don't want to say that though, because it obviously was good and that's why it's so famous and that's why it resonated with so many people, and there's obviously deep parts of us that like really, really, really love those characters and that whole world. But honestly, it's a hard watch these days. Like Elena, just what is she doing? And just the more and more and more I watch, I'm just like, First of all, where are her parents? I'm sorry. Okay, yeah, I know her parents died, right? I just feel like the adults around her weren't trying enough. If that was me, yeah, if I was Jenna, I'd like, listen, babe, I don't know where this Stefan guy's come from. He looks older. It it's it it's just giving inappropriate, to be honest. And then when she starts fancying Damon, and Damon's like, how old is Damon supposed to be genuinely? Because it's giving 30-year-old. It's giving 30-year-old, and she's what, still in high school? And they're in high school for like 3 seasons. So don't even try and say that she was like 18 or something stupid. I'm gonna look up how old is Damon in let's just say season 2. We'll give them a warm-up season. Oh, don't be stupid. They're giving me his vampire age. I want to know his flipping... Right. His physical age is supposed to be 25, ladies and gentlemen. And she's in... She's got like 2 years left at school. Nah, it's weird. Sorry, personally, it's weird. So what the heck was I saying? Yeah, I just feel like they were genuinely giving her a little bit too much leniency. And it's just so convenient. Like, so now what? All your parents are flipping gone. Now you're running around with vampires. And okay, speaking of, I know it's a film series, but obviously there's Twilight. But I feel like that's difficult because why does Bella just have no girlfriends? She has girlfriends for the first, movie? And then after that, it's just like, that's all she has, just Edward then. Let me even get into that, but yeah. So I would say, so at the moment it's Gossip Girl, Dawson's Creek, Vampire Diaries, and then last on the list, the last stop on the bus is gonna have to be Pretty Little Liars. Oh my days, I've only just started rewatching this, yeah? So I literally first watched it, when did I first watch that? I don't know. How am I to know? I don't even know what day it is. I watched it a long time ago. Let's just put it that way. And then I started rewatching it again recently, like maybe 2 or 3 weeks ago. Bruh, there is so... And the reason I started rewatching it as well is because I kept seeing videos of like edits of like Ezra and Arya. That guy's a creep. I'm sorry. That guy is weird. And do you know what? Oh wait, I missed a really good one. But let me get. I'll bring that one in a second. One thing that I just cannot get with flipping Pretty Little Liars is that Ezra was just not all that. I'm sorry, but first of all, it seems to be a reoccurring theme that it's just normal to be low-key just dating pedophiles, like people that are genuinely way too old for you, way too old, and it's just a normal thing. Like, it's not just Arya. So I think I'm on season 2 at the moment. So let's just go through. First of all, Spencer has about 3 flipping maniacs trying to get after her, who are way older, by the way. Alison, I can't even get into Alison, honestly. She was just doing too much since the day she was born. And then there's Arya with that horrible teacher, and he's just so sleazy. It's like, I'm sorry, first of all, I mean, I said first of all a lot of times, but second of all, as well, I feel like he's constantly wearing the same outfit. That is just an ick. Like, he just seems like he doesn't really have a lot else going on. Do you know what I mean? It's like, so, okay, great. So you found a child today and now you're just like a teacher. But then now you're not even a teacher because you've had to quit because you're dating a child. So yeah. How do we feel about that? Not great. This is the list of how much I enjoy watching it, but I forgot a very important one, a very key one that I'm just going to insert now, which I'm pretty sure everyone watched like last year, whenever it was. The Summer I Turned Pretty. I mean, that is a hard watch. I mean, listen, there was good parts about it. I really love Jenny Han. Like, I love that she's making more representation for the Korean girlies. But my sister made a good point. She was like, oh wait, there's another one that I watched. But anyways, I'm not gonna get into that. My sister like makes a good point that, but when there's Asian representation, especially when it's like Korean or like Japanese or Chinese or whatever, it seems to be like, for example, with To All the Boys I Loved Before, they always seem to be mixed with like white, when there's not much representation for like dark skin Asians. I would say that Bridgerton, I can't really get into Bridgerton either because I haven't watched that properly. They have, I would say, more diverse mixes, but then do they really? I don't know. So I love that. Like, any representation that you can see on screen, I think that's great. But that whole thing was a mess. Are you kidding me? I mean, we've seen it before. We've seen it before with Elena, but two flipping brothers. And do you know what? It's like, oh, take me back to the beach house. Take me back to the beach house. Mate, girl, she needs to get a grip. She needs to stay away from the beach. She needs to learn that there's other things out there other than the beach. The beach is really not all that. I'm sorry. It's really not. It's a bit of sand and it's a bit of water. You might as well just take a bath. Anyways, so I would put that a little bit before. Actually, no, I'm going to put the Sunrise Time Pretty at the end. Sorry. I just think there was just too much. It was too messy. I didn't really, there was only like two characters that I could really like cling onto. And lo and behold, it's the flipping side characters, Taylor and Stephen. After season 1, that's why I was watching it. I can't even get into how dirty they did Jeremiah as well. His character towards the end was pissing me off. Absolutely. What is he doing? It was horrible to see that. I don't like seeing a baddie beg either. I really don't. I do not like seeing baddies beg. It's horrible. But now to get to the juicy part, like what I kind of find funny, is that I've noticed that some of the shows that are a little bit older, the way that they show gossip is, first of all, I think it's a little bit more natural. Like, I think now producers and writers are really under pressure to create like viral moments in series and TV shows. And Euphoria is a perfect example of that, because even though I'm sure that show has a lot of substance and it started off with a lot of substance, I know there's been like really big changes in terms of who's been writing it and producing it and who's been doing the music. And like, my sister watches it, so she's told me all these things, that it's made a very big change into season 3 and it's basically not the same series, right? But just the fact that if I do like scroll on Reels or something, every clip that comes up of it is so like hypersexualized or sensational. It's like hyperbole. It's like just constant noise. I don't know if that's a good way of explaining it. I think just that shows how much of a kind of cliff we've kind of gone down with some of these like teen shows and programs. Even the Sunrise Time Pretty, I wouldn't say it's a very adult show. It's quite like teen, I would say. Although there were a lot of like mums that loved that show. But that maybe also because there was 2 significant mum characters in the Sunrise Time Pretty, which I think were like, actually, honestly, what's their bloody names again? Laurel and Susanna. Laurel and Susanna's story was actually so beautiful and actually really heartbreaking. I don't know what I would do in their situation. For context, they're literally best friends and they have kids that are around the same age, and Susanna dies of cancer in the 2nd season. And so most of it is like following Belly, like the young teenage girl who's like falling in love with the 2 boys, Susanna's 2 boys. But you also see like how Laurel deals with the grief and stuff. And yeah, that was pretty, pretty deep. But apart from that, a lot of it is just Belly running around like, rah, 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 rah. I just can't choose. And just low-key being a bit whatever. But also the boys being losers as well. Don't get me wrong. I feel like I noticed that because of that, there's a lot of dialogue and interaction that is just so far from reality, and also really toxic to like teach people to be like that. Sorry, let's start with Dawson's Creek, because Dawson's Creek is like really early on. So that's like late 90s, early 20s. Dawson's Creek, you'll notice that, and I'm talking specifically about the female characters have their own lives. Joey is the main female protagonist, I would say, as well as Jen. Jen moves into town, and Jen moves from New York, so she's like a wild girl. But I wouldn't really describe her as a wild girl. Like, honestly, I feel like she would be a pretty average mild girl right now, but maybe because it was back then, because she liked to party and drink, and she was just very womanly, right? She was very in touch with her feminine side, and Joey is, but also isn't at the same time. I think she's like a different branch of femininity compared to Jen. So you've got her moving in, and then you've got Joey, who's lived there her whole life. But Joey just has her own stuff going on. It's just her and her sister has a baby, and it's kind of widely understood that they're kind of poor. And like this reference quite a lot, like Joey works a job as well as going to school, and, you know, she, you know, talking about college is like a sensitive subject, and, you know, this thought of like, will I ever get out of this town kind of thing. But and to be fair, Joey and Jen aren't very close in the first couple of seasons. But even when they do get close, they don't feel a need to constantly share with each other what they're doing and how they feel about a situation, especially when it comes to like romance. Because let's be honest, that is what kind of anchors a lot of these like teen shows, is like some kind of romance, or I guess there is elements of like self-discovery as well. But you just notice that they don't feel a need to constantly tell each other all the details, and they're very comfortable with being uncomfortable around each other, which I feel like is kind of looked down upon in modern day times now. Like, I'm thinking about back to interactions that I had with girls. You feel very under pressure to like always tell the raw truth constantly, and I feel like that can actually expose you in a way that is kind of harmful, and it doesn't give you any headspace to like process something. For example, like if Joey's going through this thing with Dawson, which is like the other male protagonist, and whatever, or she's kind of going back and forth and she's not sure, you know, when she does go to kind of maybe confide in Jen or another female character, Andy, then you notice that she allows herself to like pause, and I wouldn't say lie, but she doesn't feel like she has to reveal the whole truth all the time, and that she has to like completely lay herself bare. And she's very comfortable with saying like, I don't want to talk about this right now, or like, you know what, I haven't had the headspace to think about it. I'm working, I'm going to school, I'm helping my sister with the baby, we're starting an Airbnb, like all these things are going on in her life, and she allows herself to have autonomy. Whereas when you start kind of getting into Gossip Girl, for example, which, as we said, is like later 2000s, I mean, it's called Gossip Girl, right? So you know there's going to be that element of like sensational gossip and like kind of bitchiness and like bullying, low-key. Yeah, bullying. To be honest, Blair is a bully. I love that girl, but back in season 1 and 2, she was doing a bit too much. There is that element, and they're like very rich girls going to like a private school, and you know, they do have a lot going on, but at the same time, they also don't, because you've kind of taken away that element of struggle. So they have to look for struggle in other places. So they look for it in like school hierarchy, or just like having the best party, always being the best dressed, always doing the most over summer, like very superficial stuff, but to them is very, very, very real. And I would say Blair and Serena's characters are very different. Serena is a little bit more sure of herself, especially in the first couple of seasons. So I feel like she definitely keeps Blair at arm's length, and Blair knows that, and Blair kind of can feel that the relationship at some point is very one-sided. And sometimes that causes Blair to kind of like act out a little bit. And like I said, she's quite childlike in some way, and she's very much like, Serena, like she always wants to know like what she's doing, and she wants to be Serena's number one, and she's really scared of like being overshadowed by her, but at the same time she constantly seeks her approval. But then at the same time, they're still in this time frame, they are very happy with keeping secrets from each other until the time is right. And then when that time passes, they can kind of be like, hey, okay, so you know what, like, you know, last summer when you thought I was doing blah, 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 I was actually doing this. And there's like cheekiness, but it's mutual kind of like cheekiness and secrecy between each other. And in a way, I feel like the reason why they stay best friends for the whole series, even though they do have like very, very high highs and low lows, is because they just allow each other to kind of be, and they don't expect the same answer one day as they would another, and they kind of let each other kind of grow out of the less mature versions of themselves, and they let each other kind of reinvent themselves constantly, and they give them space for that. But also, I noticed that there was less and less as the series went on outside stuff in a way, and even like the background characters, I feel like they became less and less and less, and it was like so focused on the main characters, on their story, and it was so focused on Gossip Girl and who is Gossip Girl and that obsession. And I don't want to take away from the seasons, because I know that there was other stuff that happened, right? There's other plot lines, and like Chuck, for example, who's like the main male protagonist and like main love interest for Blair, he goes off for like quite a while, and I know there is intricacy still, but I feel like it just, after a few episodes, it just became very much like it's just Blair and Serena all the time, and it's like all they're doing really is, all they really do with each other is like catch up and like gossip and talk, and you never actually really see them spending a lot of quality time together and like just doing normal stuff. For example, the male characters, you'd always see them like, I don't know, playing tennis or going on some kind of trip or excursion or entertaining together in the house, one-on-ones and stuff like that. Whereas with Blair and Serena, it was more like, it was shopping, but it wasn't shopping because you want to see Serena. It's shopping because you have to go to this event and you don't have a dress. And it's like, oh yeah, like pop round before brunch, but only because I want to ask you if this is the right shade of lip gloss, like that kind of thing. And so it kind of shows, I think, female friendship in a very superficial way. But then also, but maybe that was intentional, because otherwise I don't think some of their arguments would have been as believable, because some of their arguments were ridiculous. And it's like, babe, just get over yourself. It's not that deep. But maybe they kept their friendship kind of physically very surface level so that we could allow space for the very like big highs and lows emotionally. So yeah, and then we move into Vampire Diaries, and weirdly I feel like it kind of regresses back to Dawson's Creek, where, and again, I mean, these are very, very different in terms of like context. These are very different characters and they live in very, very different worlds. Elena and Bonnie and Caroline, they still have a lot more autonomy than I would say Blair and Serena have. And they have a lot more going on in their lives. And they also make it a point to spend time with each other outside of just like plotting and scheming and like planning. Whereas like that is pretty much the only reason why Blair and Serena kind of link up. Whereas those girls, they still... And to be fair, it does get less and less as the seasons go on, but that's just because they have so much more like rubbish to deal with. Like the flipping originals come in, like, girl, mate, if Klaus was trying to kill me, and if flipping, and you got the Cure and just all this, and then you've got the blimmin', you know, when Alaric starts going all, you know, and then whatever. Oh, Kai, yeah, it gets a bit. So I can understand that, but anyways. At least in the first couple of seasons, they do make it a habit to try and like have sleepovers or like do games nights or go on little like day trips or like shopping, and it's not for anything, it's just for the sake of it, it's just for the sake of hanging out. Their form of gossip, and you know, if they are talking about like a boy or a new job opportunity, not job opportunity because they don't have jobs, or like, you know, just a new opportunity or a new thing that they're going to try, again, trying to explore a new version of themselves, right? I feel like it's met with a lot more acceptance and it's a lot more grounded, whereas with Blair and Serena, it's like they're just constantly trying to one up each other, and it's kind of, they want the information in case they need to use it, whereas it's not like that with the girls in Vampire Diaries. And again, maybe it's like that small town mindset versus like the city mindset, because again, I think Vampire Diaries is supposedly set in like a fairly small town, and you know, it's very much like Twilight vibes, you know. So I don't know, maybe that's what the big difference is. Maybe it's the difference of like, but you know what though, that just doesn't make sense to me, because I feel like Blair and Serena had so much opportunity. Like, there was so much stuff they could have been doing, like, other than what they were doing, bro. If I woke up, boom, and I'm just flipping living on Upper East Side, and I've just genuinely got no flipping worries in the world, I would be calling my girls to do the craziest stuff. I'd be like, yeah, babe, let's just like, because they're based in New York. I'd be like, yeah, babe, let's just go to Paris. Let's go to Paris and just eat a croissant. Let's hire out a whole studio just to like paint together. I don't know, let's go and ask a restaurant to close down so that the chef can show us how to make our favorite meal that we always get for brunch. Let's not even just get our nails done. Like, let's design each other's nails, you know? Let's like go all out. I don't know, like there's just so many things that you could do with like so much money and resource, and they just literally spend it like scheming and just like going around and like just wasting bad time. I just don't understand it. And then, you know, but I guess the threats are different. Like the threats in Gossip Girl are like social ruin, which is basically the same as dying. It's basically the same as getting your head ripped off by Klaus. So I don't know. And then, what did I have after that? So then we've got the Summer I Turned Pretty. I mean, I've kind of got into Summer I Turned Pretty. It was just so boy-centered. And I wish they'd had more scenes with just Belly and Taylor. I really wish they'd leaned in on that more, because number one, the actress that plays Taylor, what's her bloody name actually? Because I don't even want to talk about it without knowing. Who, I do know who it is because I follow her on Instagram. Rain. It's Rain something. Who plays Taylor in Summer I Turned Pretty? Rain Spencer? Yes, Rain Spencer. Okay. Rain Spencer is just so good anyways. Like, I think she definitely made the best of what she was working with. Let's just put it that way. But I just wish they'd leaned into that friendship a little bit more. But you know what? There's probably a reason they didn't. Because if they did, and Belly spent a little bit more time with her, she'd probably realise, hello, wake up, what are you doing? Wake up, what are you actually doing? You're literally throwing your whole life away for these two boys who are just not even all that. Towards the end, she's basically choosing between a guy who is so emotionally unavailable, and even towards the end, it's just, I don't know, personally, maybe because I haven't read the books, but it just seemed so surface level, like his whole like yearning and his whole, oh my gosh, like I'm so in love with you, like it's always been you, like I can't, blah, 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 blah. I don't know. I'm like, maybe he was grieving. I mean, his mum died. Both their mums did die. Sometimes I feel like I forget that and I'm maybe not giving enough leniency. But she basically has to choose between that. So he's kind of got like everything else sorted out, like career-wise, like all of that, whatever. But then emotionally, I would say checked out. And then she's got the golden retriever basically version, he's very ready to make the relationship a priority in his life, but he's a little bit more immature. Like he doesn't really quite know how to materialize some of his ideas and stuff, at least when he's at like this kind of breaking point with her. So it's difficult because there's really just not that much interaction between the two like main female protagonists, and there could have been a whole lot more, because again, the only reason they really get together is when the boys are involved to talk about the guys, and that's kind of all they talk about. And I get that like they're telling a story and there's only so much that they can fit in, but it's just unhealthy, I think. Like, I don't think girls should have this perception that the only thing you can talk about is men. Like, and that's all you can do is like just go shopping, I don't know, get a coffee or like go for brunch and just like talk about men and like talk about what am I gonna wear. I just feel like we have actually so much more depth. Well, I don't know, maybe the average girl doesn't. No, I think they do. But okay, this is what I was going to say though. I would say with Belly is that I feel like it's slightly at this point starting to turn into a little bit of like toxic oversharing, because, and okay, it depends on your boundary, right? But personally, and if you haven't watched this, you're going to be confused, but personally, when the proposal thing happens with Jeremiah, look, I get they're young, okay? The ring was tiny, bro. It was tiny. I'm like, genuinely, these fairy lights are probably bigger than what was on the ring. But if that is how your relationship is set out and you've accepted that person, then I don't think you should have everyone else around you telling you that it's not good enough. If you've decided it's good enough, then it's good enough. Take that with a pinch of salt, okay? Obviously, sometimes I know I'm saying like, she didn't listen to her friend enough, but I also do think that there was an element, a little bit, of her being so influenced by what other people wanted her to have, and not just even in the end but also in the beginning. Like, I feel like Taylor does bring her out of her shell, but in a very Taylor way. Like, Taylor's very feminine, and then she's very like, she likes to get dressed up, and you know, she's very like girl boss, like she's very like female empowerment, like feeling good within yourself and like taking the reins and being in control and just like not letting anyone tell you no, and just being so like focused and this is what I want and confident and blah 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 blah, and but also very like guarded and sheltered. So that's how she kind of expresses her softer side, whereas I feel like Belly clearly was a lot deeper than that, and she didn't need to like have this kind of glow up kind of thing. Like, she didn't need to be that person. Wow, her boobs have grown like 2 cup size and now she like puts on lipstick. Like, she didn't need to do all that. And so then with Taylor, it kind of feels like it's more explaining herself rather than like actually confiding. And I feel like you do see that because you see a difference between her friends that she miraculously finds in Paris, just like all of a sudden. So kind of understand that, because she does still have both elements. I feel like the friends that she meets in Paris, that again, they have their own autonomy, and so they're very much like, let her be and let her breathe, and they don't make her over explain herself, and they're very much just, they accept how she is. But maybe, I don't know, maybe because Taylor's a childhood friend, it just doesn't come across in the same way. Yeah, I don't know. And then Pretty Little Liars, oh my days, I don't know. Again, this is like more of a 2000 show. So this is way before The Summer I Turned Pretty. But I think it's probably even, it's just after The Vampire Diaries? Let's see. Okay, 2010. So kind of like in the middle. Yeah, I would say that with Pretty Little Liars, they still have autonomy. They still each have their own little thing going on. And I feel like it's a way more varied representation of women and like girl groups and like different personalities and different interests and different sexualities. I feel like it's way more inclusive in that way. Even if physically the characters kind of fit a stereotype, I still feel like inside, in terms of like their personality and how they are as independent agents, is very diverse in a way, and they each have their own struggles basically. And again, they allow each other that space to just kind of be and not have to over explain themselves. And I don't know, I guess my point is that I feel like as modern day comes in, these shows do influence us. Like, me personally, like, I definitely feel like I was shaped by the shows that I was watching when I grew up. And if you aren't able to like digest that and like think critically and also absorb other things, it can become a thinking that that is the best way. Like, I do think there is harm in some of these more modern day shows, like for example, say Euphoria, which finds that some of these female characters are really having to expose themselves just in order to be accepted by the people that are supposed to love them the most. And I don't like that, and that's the one element in Gossip Girl that I've just never been able to understand and get behind. Like, I love Gossip Girl because of the world and because I'm just attracted to that kind of world. I'm attracted to money. But you know what I mean? And yeah, I don't know. I just feel like maybe some of these modern day shows, and especially some of these rom-coms that come out, like, they're just so ridiculous. But that's like what we're seeing, our leading female actresses of the time. Like, that's what we're seeing them. Those are the stories that we're seeing them portray. And I feel like that should mean something. Like, it's a bit of fun, but also, like, I don't know, when you look back at it, when you do have a show like The Summer I Turned Pretty that really resonated, I feel like if you're gonna make media, you do have to kind of be prepared for that. You have to be prepared for the fact that it could just like take over a little bit, and it can become a cult classic. And you've got to be really careful, like, how are you. It's hard. I get it. Like, you can't tick every box. And I'm sure Jenny Han was and all the producers were under so much pressure, because it's difficult to get representation, and it's difficult to even just tell these stories anyway, let alone tell them in a way that you feel does it justice. So yeah, I don't know. I guess the takeaway is just take everything you watch with a pinch of salt. I mean, I don't know. This doesn't even have to be advice, but these are just my thoughts. These are just my thoughts, but I love these shows. Like, don't get me wrong, I love Pretty Little Liars. I feel like it does have that good balance. Like, especially as I'm rewatching it now as an adult, it's definitely a lot better than what I remember. Like, bro, I'm confused as heck. I don't know who A is. I don't know who A is one bit. Seriously, I'm confused. They've done that well. Okay, bye.